Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Unnoticed, where we dive into the real life topics that help you thrive and not just survive. I'm your host, Jeanette Robinson McWilliams.
And I am your co host, Yvette McCauley. And today we're discussing a topic that I think we all know way too well distractions. I mean, seriously, it can be so challenging these days to stay focused.
Exactly. Between the endless cell phone notifications, our work demands, and everything in between, it really feels like the world is designed to keep us from what truly matters. So today we're talking about the danger of distractions and how we can reclaim our focus.
It's wild how easily we get sidetracked today. I mean, seriously, 1 minute you're checking work emails, and the next thing you know, you've wasted countless minutes or an hour, watching random videos, or in my case, scrolling through recipes that I know I'm never going to cook, right? We've all been there.
Yeah, 100,000%. But here's the thing, these distractions aren't just harmless time wasters. They are actually pulling us away from achieving our goals and really living a life of intention. And when we're constantly distracted, we are living reactively instead of proactively.
Ooh, remind us of that again.
Yeah. So, when we're distracted and killing time, we are and living reactively. That is not us living proactively. So it's just taking us away from our purpose.
Yeah, and I don't. The unfortunate thing is, we often don't look at it
Hmm.
that way, right? And that's one of the reasons that distractions
Yeah.
are so dangerous. I mean, it goes back to what you just said. It comes down to the fact that in those moments that we're distracted, we are clearly not fully
Right.
present. When we're distracted, we are not giving our best to the task at hand, and it doesn't matter if that's work or relationships or even to ourselves, we are not fully engaged and
In the
living
moment.
in that
Yeah.
moment.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes it's what gets worse over time is that it adds up, right? So you think about all the times you've spent doing something important that you got pulled away into something else, whether it's social, your emails, or just like you said, mindless scrolling on whatever. And it's like a death by a thousand cuts to our focus.
Exactly. I mean, we don't realize in those moments because we think we're feeding something that we need, but it's really a state of mental
Mm,
clutter, you know? And that's why it's so important to recognize these distractions for what they are. They're roadblocks to our goals. We are placing additional
mm,
obstacles in the way of the things that we say we want to accomplish,
yeah.
right? But there is good news. I mean, we're not powerless. We can take back control. And with that, here's our first quote. If you don't separate yourself from your distractions will separate you from your
Mm,
goals.
yeah. So going back to your quote, talk about let's dig in there a little bit. What is that quote saying to you? How is it speaking to you? How is it? What is it bringing up for you?
What it's bringing up for me is I think it's almost a true definition of the danger of a distraction. I mean, they're so subtle sometimes, you can lose a half a day, or you can lose, oh, I'm only going to do this for a couple of minutes, or I'm only going to, and then you look up and one thing leads to another. It used to be you can do it with Google. Like, oh, let me Google this one thing real quick. And you'll look up 30 minutes later and the links, you've hit a rabbit trail and you're going down and it's like, wait, what was I looking up again? You know what I'm saying? And so when we look at the danger of a distraction, it can really derail us from accomplishing a goal. You have a set amount of time, or you said you're going to knock this out, and then you look up and now you're running out of the door for an appointment. Oh, shoot, I am now rushing to get this presentation done. It really can distract us to the point of taking what should have been a leisurely stroll and making it into a full court press, right? You're sprinting now and you're stressing.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to read a quote that I came across that said, "An addiction to distraction is the end of your creative production.
Ooh.
And so I think I'll read that again. An addiction to distraction is the end of your creative production. And I think that that quote says to me, and going back to like, you click on one thing and it ends like a million different, ends up being a million different clicks and it takes you completely off, derails you from like the goal, the focus is like, what is that saying? What is that saying about like how important the goal is for you, right?
Mm.
Like, and then
Mhm.
it comes to like to productivity, to creativity, like there's a there. So that's why I asked you, like, what that quote that you read meant to you, because I think sometimes
Yeah.
we want to be derailed, right? You know?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Because it's like, well, first of all, the fact that you can be addicted to distractions is very
Hmm.
interesting. And then you've convinced yourself that you've really been doing something all day, but you really have not been doing anything all day defined as making progress towards the
Right.
goal. You've been doing like the busy work. Like remember in
Hmm.
school, right? It's like, oh, we're doing this thing. Am I ever going to use this in life? How does this really apply to the okay, yeah, sometimes there's busy work, but it was trying to reinforce a particular skill or a concept. But then there was just doing something for the sake of doing
Yeah.
something because you really didn't want to do, to your point, what you were supposed to be
Hmm.
doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like how many times you walk in your bedroom or you walk at home and you're like, okay, you're driving home and you know all the things you need to do. Okay, I'm gonna put a load of laundry in. I'm gonna start dinner. I'm gonna do all the things. I'm gonna do all the things. But then you just walk in the house and you're just like, and then you sit down, which you knew you messed up. You pulled your phone out to do one thing. You start doing 12 things. Now it's too late to cook dinner and you're ordering pizza. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like distractions can really derail your best
Or your
intentions.
best work. Or even dinner, right? You come in the house and you have 2 hours to plan dinner. You sit down, you're doing X, Y, and Z. Now you're down to 20 minutes. Like the dinner's not the same that you end up making for yourself and your family than it would have been if you had the 2 hours. So same thing goes to work. Same thing goes to like a hobby, whatever it is that whatever that goal is. If you are derailed, and even could be even like relationships, right? Like if you're not able to fully give it the right attention, whether it's decision making, whether it's intention, whatever it is, if you're distracted with a million different things, it kind of evades whatever it is that needs to be done.
Exactly. Because it's about making time for what's really important.
So it matters, yes, making time for what matters. Yes, yes.
It's not always just about avoiding distractions. It's being aware. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? It's like, have you ever noticed how much easier it is to stay focused when you have clear goals for that day?
Yeah.
You know, but instead of just reacting to whatever comes up, you have a game plan. I mean, we get that there's pivots. Like I keep talking to you about the season of pivot, right? Every time I turn around, it seems like, oh, I
Hmm.
have this great plan and I'm going to do this. So there are always unknown pivots, but that are often beyond our
Sure.
control. Our journey is always going to have those unexpected, unseen pivots around the corner. However, I'm starting to understand that distractions are one of those self placed obstacles that are in our path. And we don't always look at them and recognize them for what they are when they arrive. But when we look back, there's that hindsight again. It's very clear that it was a self imposed obstacle or a well placed, but I was just giving an excuse as to why we didn't do what we said was important to us. So we really have to look at that because being aware again is key because if you only have so many hours in a day or you only have so much time you can dedicate to that task and at the end of that 2 hours, at the end of that 30 minutes, at the end of that half a day you still have not accomplished the goal you set out to accomplish, is that then time to have a conversation with yourself as to whether or not that goal is really the priority that you've told people or that you've convinced yourself it
Yeah.
was.
I think for sure. I was going to actually say, like, is the goal really real? Is it a real goal? So, okay. Yeah.
Ooh.
Like, I mean, yeah. So is the goal a real goal? Like, or is it an arbitrary goal that we throw out there? And then I'm thinking too, like, as you're talking, and I'm like, again, I think it goes back to like, like our toolkits, right? Like our personal toolkits and how well are we able
Yep.
to work through things? How able are we able to like problem solve, troubleshoot, figure things out? I don't think everybody has the same, I mean, everybody has the same toolkit, right? So like, I mean,
Agreed.
even like,
Agreed.
I think about productivity, like for example, like again, I'm used to working in a corporate structure and then like now I'm freelancing
Mhm.
consulting, right? Due to like whatever. And
You mean distractions?
I mean, distractions, but not even that. It's even like, how do I manage my day, right? Like, how do I manage my
Yeah.
day from
Yeah.
like working from home full time, trying to figure out
Mhm.
my next step, my next move, my next client, my next project, but then also like, be a full time mom, right? Like, picking my kids from
Right.
activities and to school, and to get them out the house, and to like be in a space of distraction, whether it's laundry or the phone ringing from my parents who are retired and think I'm retired too, but I'm clearly not. Like there's all these things like that I think pull you from the goals. But again, like what are those goals? Like and then I think people need, support or whatever of trying to even figuring out your goals and you setting goals, setting
And
you know,
prioritizing
prioritizing,
those
right? Like
goals.
sometimes you just don't
Yes.
know.
You
Like
don't know.
I mean, my days sometimes are crazier than others, and I have things that I have to do on a checklist. But again, I think it goes back to like learning, right? And this is again a lot of self learning, learning how to prioritize, learning how to be more productive and efficient by not letting myself do the busy stuff all the time. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah, I think I think you're right. I think it's everything you just said and trial and
mhm,
error, which is how we often
yeah,
best learn, right? To have some experiential learnings. But I also think and it's crazy as this sounds, this is another Yvetteism, everyone. It's like scheduling spontaneity,
Mm,
scheduling time for distractions.
yes,
It's kind of like so when if you really were to have a conversation with yourself, it's like, okay, so Jeanette, what are you doing today? Well, I have this to do and I have this client and I have to, this meeting. And then I'm scheduled from 3 to 4 to just mindlessly scroll. Like when you really think about scheduling, scrolling on your phone, it almost sounds ridiculous. But yet we do it throughout the day without that being scheduled. And so it's just funny when let me just take a moment and just clear my brain of the strategy of the day, of the
of the
prioritizing of the
busyness,
day,
right? Of the
of
and the
the busyness.
chaos that ensues when your schedule is ever changing and like you said, pivoting, right? Like
Yes.
I think part of it too is like control, right? Like for
Yes.
those of us who, again, who are freelancers or consult,
Or
right?
A-type personalities.
Or age
Yeah,
personalities, there is like a level of control that you are seeking because everything is out of your control except for like the way you plan your day.
I love
So I
that.
think, I mean, for me, like my vice, your Candy Crush is my word search,
Yeah,
right? So I
I do
will
those too.
pocket the time, and I'm like, and they're timed, so that it's like how fast and I get like I tell it how fast and I solve this puzzle, whatever. So I mean, yeah, I think
Wow,
it's for sure
that's
it's that.
amazing because I do
Yeah,
the same thing with
yeah,
Sudoku on my
right.
phone.
So
It's like, can I how oh, I did it in 3 minutes this time. Can I do it in 2 minutes and 57 seconds? Like, it's the weirdest
and
thing because
the weird time of the
even
day you're doing it, you do it at the oddest times, like, but it's that level of like, I just need to grasp, to reach out and just find something that I can control. I need a second. So
that was very
yeah,
insightful. I love that because we wear so many hats
yeah.
throughout the day, right? And I literally was having a conversation with a dear friend the other day. I know I say that all the time, but I really, really was. And I was like, I just don't want to think.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's just making the decisions. I mean, even to the point of, okay, we talked about dinner. Like, that's the question that people dread a lot of times. Like, what's for dinner? What are we making for dinner? What are we doing for dinner? And I like sometimes I feel like we just get in such a food rut, at least in my house. Like sometimes it's the same thing all the time or what's convenient or what's cooked. And it's like I'm even seeing in that making a menu. Of course, I do it by the Publix ad, but that's a whole other conversation in a different podcast topic. But making the menu, like I used to do it the week of. Now I'm learning it's better to do it the week before. And then I can make sure that between Saturday and Monday morning, I have done all the shopping that we need to have everything. And it's only executing. It's like it's something else when I have to make the decision and execute all in the same hour. But if everything is in the house, I'm less likely to go through a drive through or pick up something, even if time is a crunch, because it's like everything is already at the house. I've already spent the money. And so it's very, very interesting just what that little level of planning will help you do. And it just kind of goes back to, that question I raised earlier. Like seriously, if you haven't, like, pay attention to how much easier it is to stay focused when you have a plan, when you have a clear goal. Now, again, I'm not saying minute by minute, but I am saying, you know, build in some buffer time and some buffer zone that you're not, just your hair on fire trying to keep a schedule, but at the same time, figure out what those truly important things are in a day. And maybe it's not just about um control, it may be the simple fact that we're over planning and overpacking our schedules. Because sometimes you get into that breakneck speed and you're trying to figure out, ooh, I just need a moment to breathe, but you really haven't built in a moment to breathe. And so then what happens is for me, my schedule gets thrown up. Like yesterday was a perfect example. I was running some errands, I was going to go pick up the kiddos, and I come up 85 North and there's a standstill. Like a for real standstill. Like, not, oh, we're creeping along. No, all four lanes were like, nobody's going anywhere. And it was so far back. I was so far back in this, I couldn't even see what the
Mhm.
issue was, right? Not that it would have mattered or I could have helped. But my point to that is now an errand that I thought was going to take me an hour, hour and 15, I'm not home until another 2.5 hours later.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where um, now there's internal pressure in addition to the pressure of the clock, right? And so what I'm learning is like I had a lady that I learned from. She was somebody I worked with years ago, and she had a 2 o'clock rule. So she would get up every day about 7:30, 7:30 in the morning, and her 2 o'clock rule was any and everything that she needed to get done had to be done by 2 p.m. Now she was an avid reader, and she was also retired.
I'm about to say, does she have kids?
Yeah, she was, and it was funny. And I said, "Well, what does that mean?" She said, "Everything, whether it was running an errand, whether it was shopping, whether it was cleaning, whether it was baking, no matter what it was." She was like, all the things that she knew were a priority that she had to get done, she made it a point to get them all done by 2 p.m. And I said, "Okay, so then what do you do?" She said, "Now the rest of my day is guilt free." And I said, "What?" She's like, "If I did more on my to do list or pulled something from the next day, that was fine. If I sat and read for the next 3 hours or watched TV, it was fine." She said, "But I knew that everything I had to get done that day was done by 2 p.m." And I thought, you know what? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it. I like it. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think, I mean, for me in my life, it's control. I mean, that comes down to the ability to have say in like my day. Because right now I feel like things are a bit out of control, right? As far as like again, I'm kind of beholden to my children's schedules and car line pickup, but whatever it is. And then again, being I guess a freelancer slash borderline entrepreneur, right? At this point, like that very little is in my control, right? Like you bring on clients, your kickoff meetings, your deliverables, like so it's for me, it's really trying to relearn how to map out my day. So the last thing I'm gonna do is plan my dinner menu because I'm like I don't like I'm like I no, and you'll laugh. Like my kids, they know like I'm about like I am a good improviser, right? And a problem solver. So my brain, like I work better with making up meals, no, based off what I have than like going to the store like with I like anyone knows I abhor like recipes because for me like because I'm always missing the one thing or one thing off the recipe. Like, I'm like I'm missing the one thing that I need to finish this. Whereas if I make up my own thing, I have a little bit of this, a little bit of this. I have an abundance of things. So
Yes.
yeah,
I love that because we've been doing that too. It's like really interesting. You said something about the schedule and about being in control. I think that's a human thing, right? It's part of human nature where when we feel out of control, we feel the need to control even more than we probably normally would.
yeah,
And it's because we're looking for that this the security that certainty provides or the security that we think certainty provides, right? Because when you are not in the freelance entrepreneurial space, we always know every 2 weeks we're getting paid, regardless of what
hmm
happens. And so it's very, very interesting the shift that happens mentally when that quote unquote certainty of a payday is removed. Because it really does change how we do what we do, how we think. Like it touches everything from how we spend, when we spend, what we spend it on. You know what I'm saying? Like everything shifts. And I guess I'm saying that because I never put those two things together as it relates to being distracted, right? Because sometimes it's the pressure of the unknown. But if we can take that and boil that down to that momentary thing, there's something that's appealing about leaning into the distraction, even though we know, because a part of us knows it's a distraction. Part of us knows that we don't need to be doing that thing.
right. But I think it goes back to like again like feeling like you have some level of control. It's like okay, well, if I want to scroll for a minute, I'm gonna scroll for a minute,
There's something that's fulfilling, which is why we keep doing it.
right?
So I love that you tapped into the word control. So I looked it up, and maybe because I'm a hit dog hollering, I don't know, we'll see. But it says control is an act or an instance of controlling. It's the power or authority to guide and manage. So if we're choosing distractions intentionally or instead of, that's like one of those
Yeah,
wow
yeah.
moments,
And you
right?
think about distractions, whether it's distractions in business, like or your in work, in your family life, in your relationship world. Like I mean, all those things. Like there are distractions in everything, right? In everything and everywhere, and they are a choice. So at some point, we have to right. At some point, we have to
Mm.
identify that said thing is a distraction, and then the question, ask yourself the question: well, what are you doing about it? And because is this distraction derailing you of a goal? Which goal? I don't know. We all have our own goals, but like, I mean, it's definitely it's a definite it's something that's universal. I think everybody goes through, everyone feels, and everyone is battling with, right? And it's distractions. I
Mhm.
think
Mhm.
in all those different areas, someone can find many or few distractions that they're dealing with present day. But I think it's about the alignment, right? So I think when it comes to distractions when I'm trying to work, or distractions I'm doing things around my home that I have got to accomplish. It's like again silencing the noise, right? It's like the mute button. So on our phones,
Mm.
we can press silence all notifications, right? And you can put your phone down and and nothing comes through because again, you see the ping, ping, ping. You're looking at your phone, you're picking it up, you're then spiraling out of control to other things. But I think it's about like taking the control back and like knowing that it's a something that needs to be identified and like and paused for a minute.
Yeah, I think the other key word is
Yeah,
choice. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what I was trying to say
yeah,
earlier,
yeah.
choice. We are choosing to be
Right,
distracted. We're choosing to step away from that thing. And so it really is that awareness. It really is that checking in with self. It's like why? Now, every time you're not because we're
right. And
humans.
sometimes,
But when it become a
right,
pattern and it really becomes destructive and a time stealer and you
right.
really are, you know, over overwhelmed now and underwater by everything you need to do because you just over scheduling. So could that also be part of it? Like are we building time in our schedule for play, for creativity, for downtime? You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah,
something to be
yeah.
said for that
And even
too.
like to say like use like adult words. Like are we carving out time in our schedule for pleasure, right? Like we can use the word pleasure too. I mean, I know that it's where this is a G-rated show, but we can use the word pleasure. That could be in shopping. It could be in laying outside in the sun, letting the sun hit your face. But I think, yeah,
Or lunch with a three margarita lunch with a girlfriend. Like it's
right,
all
right.
those
All
things.
those things. But I think it goes back to the way we look at, you know, the way we look at the life that we're building and the life that we're in. And like again, carving out that space and having those conversations with ourselves on what it is that where are the gaps, right? And I think a lot of times we don't take time in our busy schedules to like see where the gaps are because we're so, again, to your point, busy, whether it's from distractions or from goals or from whatever. Like I think that we're just constantly running around, just kind of again an autopilot. I think this goes back to our earlier episodes. It's like, when are we doing our self checks, right? Because I think, even again, the overscheduling of the work in the day, or or not scheduling enough time for ourselves, whether that's to scroll and do Candy Crush, or to prepare a nice meal for our family that's intentional and thoughtful and purposeful. Whatever it is, I just think that, you know it's about giving ourselves permission. And I think it goes back to that. So it's kind of like the control thing, but also giving yourself permission to be honest about
To enjoy
what,
life.
yeah, that, but also be honest that we're not, right? Like like
Yeah,
it's,
yeah,
so I
yeah,
think it's
yeah.
like the biggest call out is like, why am I doing this thing? What is the thing that I'm doing with like going back to the goals? Is this a real goal? Is this a goal that was set for me? A goal that the society thinks I should be, yeah, right? Like a goal that I've created based off what I think my friends think I should be doing or my family think I should be doing. Like how many of the goals that we're working towards are really for us? I think that's kind of like, yeah, that's kind of
Like what is
what's
that
the
pressure?
pressure?
Is it really internal? Is it
Yeah,
societal? Is it from what's expected of
yeah. And what's
us?
and what's the
You
barometer,
know.
right? Of when we meet set goal? Like, is it going to be like we're going to like kill ourselves to get to this thing, and then what? Like I don't know. Like so, there's
Well, it all starts with
yeah,
why. You know what I'm saying? And you said that. I mean, and that's a good book, by the way. But it all starts with why.
yeah,
And so it's kind of funny, tongue in cheek. It's like so basically we need to take control of our
yeah,
attention. It all starts with why. Why are we doing what we're doing? And I think even in those moments of distraction,
yeah. Right.
okay, one of the other dangers that I'm seeing with distractions is because it doesn't leave time for what you just said, checking in with yourself. There's constant noise, there's constant stimulation, dare I say, overstimulation. I mean, when we were growing up, TV went off. You know what I'm saying? Today, there's a bazillion channels, they're streaming. If you're up, you can turn on something. But where are those quiet focus times? Where is it that you are literally quiet with yourself in your thoughts to dream, to journal, to just daydream. Like
Ooh, that's so deep.
100 years ago, that that is one of the reasons why I think we had so many great novels and books and stories and inventions because people didn't have things that were just constant distractions that you had to, put it down to go do something like.
Yeah,
When's the last time you just took a walk for the sake of taking a walk? Not because you had to walk your dog, not because you were power walking to get exercise, but just sitting outside and just the wonder of it all. And can I tell you how hard it is to just sit
Hmm.
quiet, and then your mental list starts going of what you need to do, and then you want to, and it's okay to write down a couple of things, but to refocus your mind on just having a peaceful, deep breath, enjoying the sunshine, thanking God for the day. Like, I don't know.
I think going back to what you said is when was the last time any of us have done those things, right? Taken the walk on purpose, taken the walk, yeah, taking the walk, walk barefoot in the whatever. I think there's this huge pressure though, like of doing it the right way. I mean, not really for me because I've kind of been, I have to be kind to myself and saying I've kind of always done my own thing in that space. Like I do walk barefoot a lot, and I like to, like be grounded, and I walk on my lawn, whatever. I mean, I do take the times for myself, and I will sit out on my back deck. I'll lay down. I mean, look, you got behind me that little tent, like that's my prayer closet. So
Y'all can't see it, and I
but so I
can.
mean, like there'll be I'll be laying in that in that tent, which by the way is my 10-year-old when she was 6. And I'll be laying in there, my feet are sticking out, and I have lights in there, and I whatever I'll read. And my kids will come in like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay. I just need a minute." Right. So I think it goes
Right.
back to like people's fear of judgment. Like even like from like, am I
Mhm.
journaling the right way? Am I praying the right way? Am I like, everything? Like, there's so many freaking videos and
Yeah.
TikToks and instructionals, like all these things out there that just cloud your mind of what should be, what could be, what isn't. And yeah, that even goes to like relationships, right? Like relationship
Right.
statuses, like friendships in your life, family members, like the world telling you what those things should be versus for
For
you
you
versus
as
you going like leading with your heart, like leading with your own experiences. So I mean, I think a big thing is you know, like saying like, yes, setting priorities are huge. And it's not about just work, it's about our personal lives, distractions, obviously steal time, and things that matter. So yeah,
I love that because I started saying a couple years ago, we are human beings,
me too.
not
Yeah.
human doings. So the question is, when's the last time you gave yourself permission to just be? We're so focused on doing. I mean, like literally, even in this episode, we've talked about our lists and our priorities and our goals and what are we working towards and what are we doing, and now we're distracted. But even the distraction is a doing. You know what I'm saying? And so,
No, it's so yeah,
so it's like, you know, we need to evaluate how, where we're spending our time, how we're directing our attention, you know, and it's great to have
right.
goals, but we're not human goals either. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
And and
Like
and, and
some,
again, going back to that, like who's setting the goals and like who the goals are being set to whose standards? I think it's that,
yes,
right? I mean, the goals are great,
yes,
cool. We need to have goals. You things that we're working toward, but like again, that pressure, of, like bucket list, and I want to be this before I turn this, and like all these things. Like, there's so much pressure besides just being, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, I feel,
yes.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
and that's where it
yeah,
starts. You, we talked about alignment,
hmm,
right? Realigning the things that are important to us. Well, just like we step back and we defined control, we need to maybe redefine success,
hmm,
redefine what our goals mean, redefine our, our paint done. Like when we're done with that thing or
yeah,
experiencing that thing, for us, what is success? Not what success is to Jeanette or to my
sure,
mom or to my grandparents or to my kids, but how do I define success in this thing? Whether it's the relationship, it's work. Okay, is my success built on how much the salary, the annual salary? Is it based on whether or not I'm fulfilled in what I'm
right,
doing? So I think that too will alleviate some of that pressure that you're talking about because whose life are you living? Yours or someone else's?
yeah,
And those are the types of questions that I think can only be answered in the still of the quiet, in the conversations with me, myself, and I. The stepping away from trying to keep up with the Joneses and paying attention to TikTok and what this person on social media has posted in a 15 or 30-second post, but there are 24 hours in a day. They're only posting what they want you
Right.
to see. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And yet we're living, some people are spending their time trying to live up to those standards.
Filtered. Yeah. Those filtered perceptions of someone's reality. I mean, I think that's a really, really great tip. And I think to your point, it's really about realigning with what's meaningful um, to you, for you, and in your lives. So listeners, as we wrap up today's episode, our challenge to you is, take a moment to think about where distractions are showing up in your life. What can you do today to cut them out? And how can you reclaim your focus?
Yes. So I say it again. We take control of your attention. Like pay attention to what you're
It's
paying
so good.
attention
Say
to.
it again. So good.
can I can I
Please.
say that again? Pay attention to what you're paying
Sure. And
attention
giving your
to.
attention and
And
giving your
give them.
attention to.
So how about this? Pay attention to what you're choosing to give attention to. And give yourself time, space, and quiet. Like seriously, like this is your life. You are here to live your life, and what is it? YOLO, you only live once, but make sure you're living your life and not someone else's. So, yeah, those are our tips for today. I think this was awesome. I don't I know it helped me look at some things a little differently. So hopefully our listeners are going to take some inventories as well. So we do thank you so much for listening to this episode of Unnoticed. If you have found today's episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone else who you think may need it.
And remember, distractions may be everywhere, but so is your power to overcome them. So we'll see you next time. This is Jeanette.
And Yvette, signing off.